Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Aakash Singh. I hope you're preparing well for your examinations. That's why I've come up with this video for AI 417 practicals. Before we begin the video, just a quick introduction for you to know. My name is Aakash Singh. I'm a graduate engineer from IIT Bombay. Currently, I'm working as a NLP expert in software engineering. Uh, at any point of time, अगर आपको मुझे contact करना है, you can connect with me on Instagram. This is a QR code which you can scan. Else you can also use this username. Apart from that, you can also comment under any of my videos अगर आपको कभी भी doubt आ रहा है किसी भी subject के अंदर. So let's begin today's session by talking about your practical examinations which might be happening in a couple of days. So आपको जो written examination है that will be of 10 marks, and for that purpose today we'll be covering advanced Python. So please note it will be a quick recap. हम लोग ज़्यादा इन डेप्थ एनालिसिस नहीं करेंगे इस चैप्टर का. अगर आपको इन डेप्थ थ्योरी चाहिए यू कैन ऑल्सो रेफर टू अदर वीडियोज विच आर ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट ऑन दिस चैनल. सो लुकिंग एट एडवांस्ड पाइथन हम लोग एक क्विक रिकैप करेंगे थ्योरी का. अलॉन्ग विद दैट हम लोग थोड़े कोड्स भी देखेंगे क्योंकि आपका प्रैक्टिकल एग्जामिनेशन है, सो यू नीड टू नो व्हाट आर द वेरियस काइंड ऑफ कोड्स जो आपको पूछे जा सकते हैं, वेरी बेसिक कोड्स. उसके अलावा हम लोग थोड़े प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चंस करेंगे सब्जेक्टिव टाइप which will enhance your practical exam taking skill. So let's begin with the first thing about Python language, which is variables. Now what do variables do? Variables के अंदर हम लोग data store करते हैं. So when you start to name a variable, there are a couple of rules that you need to remember. There are basically 3 rules which says आपका जो भी variable name है वो कभी भी numbers के साथ या फिर special characters के साथ start नहीं होना चाहिए. आपका जो वेरिएबल नेम है इसके अंदर कोई भी स्पेशल कैरेक्टर आप यूज़ नहीं कर सकते हो. आप वेरिएबल के अंदर एक्सक्लेमेशन साइन, डॉलर साइन, हैश साइन ये सब यूज़ नहीं कर सकते हो एक्सेप्ट द अंडरस्कोर साइन. आप सिर्फ ये यूज़ कर सकते हो, ये सब अलाउड नहीं है. एंड ऑल्सो दैट ऑल द वेरिएबल नेम्स आर एक्चुअली केस सेंसिटिव. सो अगर आपने कैपिटल ए में एज लिखा है एंड कंप्लीटली स्मॉल लेटर्स में एज लिखा है, दीज टू will actually be different. So remember this. अगर आपको याद नहीं रहता you can just take an example of keeping a Instagram username. Instagram में भी आपके सारे exact same rules use होते हैं except कि वहाँ पर full stop allowed है. Alright, so talking about variables, what do we store inside the variables? We store some data. So in Python language हम लोग 2 या 3 टाइप के data types देखते हैं. First obviously is number like integers जैसे 1, 22, 843. हम लोग इनको इंटीजर्स बोलते हैं. दे कैन ऑल्सो बी इन नेगेटिव वैल्यूज जैसे -1, -7, -44. सो जब हम लोग किसी इंटीजर्स में डेसिमल ऐड करना चाहें तो हम लोग उसको बोलते हैं फ्लोट डेटा टाइप. फ्लोट बेसिकली मीन्स डेसिमल डेटा टाइप होता है. सो 3.14, 1.011, -1.7. These are all float data types. So हम लोगों ने 2 टाइप्स देख लिए एंड द थर्ड टाइप इज टेक्स्ट डेटा टाइप. अगर मुझे लिखना है मेरा नाम तो आई कैन यूज द स्ट्रिंग डेटा टाइप. str उसका शॉर्ट फॉर्म होता है. इन दिस डेटा टाइप द ओनली थिंग विच यू नीड टू रिमेंबर इज कि इन्वर्टेड कॉमास में आपको हमेशा स्टोर करना पड़ता है. सो लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ कपल ऑफ एग्जाम्पलरी कोड्स. ओके, सो प्रिंट स्टेटमेंट आपने देखा होगा पहले क्या होता है. प्रिंट स्टेटमेंट से आप कोई भी चीज़ आपके मॉनिटर पे डिस्प्ले कर सकते हो. सो लेट्स एग्जीक्यूट दिस स्टेटमेंट फर्स्ट. आफ्टर एग्जीक्यूटिंग दिस स्टेटमेंट आपके मॉनिटर भी ये सेंटेंस दिख जाएगा. आप यू कैन ऑल्सो चेंज दिस टू एनी अदर थिंग. नेक्स्ट अप इज असाइनिंग वेरिएबल्स. ना असाइनिंग वेरिएबल्स एक्चुअली मीन्स कि आप किसी भी वेरिएबल जो आपने नेम किया है उसके अंदर कोई भी डेटा स्टोर कर रहे हो. डेटा कैन अगेन बी इंटीजर्स, data can be decimals, data can be text data type which is also known as string data type. So let's execute this. Execute हो गया. Now I'll try to print each of these values. So first में I'm printing a, value of a. Second में value of b. Third I'll be printing name and surname both which is separated by a comma. So please remember जब हम लोग print statement use कर रहे हैं एंड उसके अंदर हम लोगों ने कॉमा से 2 वेरिएबल्स को सेपरेट किया है, इट विल बी डिस्प्लेड विद अ स्पेस साइन. So let's execute this and see. So this is what we get. I hope the screen is visible. Right, so print A will give you 10, the value of A. Print B, the value of B. Print name plus surname. Now as I said before, हम लोगों ने comma use किया है, so that's why there is a space in between. Again, if I'm trying to print my name is comma name, there is a space in between. So now you understand when using the print statement why is comma used. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of data types. Let's say I have stored the value of 5 in the variable x. Now मुझे अब इसका data type पता करना है. I will just use this function. You don't have to remember this. This is just for example. This says class of this data type is integer. मतलब integer data type है. If I just change it to 5.1 and then execute it, what data type should I get? It should be float. So this is the float data type. Again, just by adding inverted commas, I can change this data type into the string data type. This is str. This is also str. Similarly, सिर्फ inverted commas नहीं, आप double inverted commas भी use कर सकते हो. Executing this, again same. The class is string data type. Okay, so let's go back to our theory. We'll talk about types of operators inside Python. Now again, this is a quick revision. हम लोग ज़्यादा in depth नहीं check करेंगे इनको. So first of all, operator plus sign, obviously it gives you addition, minus sign subtraction. This sign is for multiplication. This sign is for division. Now these are all common operators. हम लोगों ने बहुत starting से देखा इन सबको. But the three other important arithmetic operators that you need to remember are percentage sign, also known as modulus. What does it do? It gives you the remainder. A simple example, 5 modulo 3 will give us 2, because 2 will be the remainder when 5 is divided by 3. Next important arithmetic operator would be exponent wala. So this is represented by double asterisk. So a simple example would be 2 raised to 2 will give you 4. इसके अलावा एक और important arithmetic operator है which is known as flow division. So sometimes what happens is हमें decimal में answer नहीं चाहिए. Let's say if I'm dividing 5 by 2 using flow division, the answer which we get will be 2 and not 2.5. अगर हमें 2.5 आंसर चाहिए हम लोग single division वाला यूज करेंगे. So these are the basic arithmetic operators. Let's have a look at the code example. So again, I'm using A as 10, B as 7, flow division, modulo and exponent. What should the answers be? Flow division में 1 point something आना चाहिए था, normal division में, flow division में only 1 आएगा. Again, modulo sign gives us the remainder. So if 10 is divided by 7, the remainder comes out to be 3. A raised to B, again 10 raised to 7 means 10 with 7 zeros. So this is about arithmetic operators. Conditional operators. So this is the greater than sign. We know what it does. We know less than sign. We also know what it does. So when we try to compare two digits, if I'm trying to say is 4 equal to 8 minus 4. So using this operator, we are trying to compare these two values. So the answer would be true. So conditional operators में हमेशा आपको आंसर आता है true, false में. It can also be represented as 1 and 0. So this is for comparison of two variables. Exponent not equal to. This actually means not equal to. A simple example would be 5 not equal to 4. what do you think the answer should be? Should it be true or false? Obviously 5 is not equal to 4, which means this is true. So again, this and this is exactly same as greater than or equal to. हम लोगों ने सिर्फ equal to का sign डाल दिया. I hope you understand this. So these two were actually important here. Looking at examples. So where are conditional operators used? As I said, जब हम लोग conditional operators use करते हैं, आपकी जो value है वो हमेशा true नहीं तो false में आती है. So A is 10, B is again 7. If A is greater than B, 10 is greater than 7, that is true. So what should be printed? A is greater than B. Similarly, if I am adding something like this, A is greater than equal to B, then print A is greater slash equal to B. Please feel free to copy this code and try it on your own. Okay, so let's move on to other type of operators now, जो है logical operators. So now logical operators are of three types: and, or, and not. The reason why we use logical operators are हमें कभी कभी दो conditional statements को compare करना पड़ता है. So our best example would be, how do you identify a positive even number? So for this, the first condition should be, let's say our number is A. A should be greater than 0 and A should be divisible by 2. So these two conditions should be satisfied together. So that's why we use and. But at some of the times we can use the or operator जब हमें दोनों conditions true नहीं चाहिए. अगर एक भी true होगी, then it will provide you the true answer. So a quick example of this, and में हम लोग true and true will always give true, true and false will give you false, क्योंकि यहाँ पर हमें दोनों conditions, तो या फिर दो से ज़्यादा जो conditions है सब के सब true होनी चाहिए in order to get true. Similarly in or हमें सिर्फ एक ही statement को true होना पड़ेगा जिससे हमें true result आए. Not operator just opposites the answer, जैसे not false is true and not true is false. Assignment operators, simply speaking, हम लोग के पास बहुत सारे variables होते हैं, so that's why we assign some value to it. So equal to operator, you have seen it before, and these operators are just short forms. This is incrementing value of x by 5. Let's say I want to increment the value of x by 10. So I can easily say x is equal to x plus 10. But it is a very long statement. We can use the shorthand form by saying x plus equal to 10, which actually means the same. So other operators also behave in the similar manner. अगर आपको subtract करना है, multiply करना है या फिर divide करना है, and store the value again in the same variable. So let's have a look at logical operators. If A is 12, हम लोगों ने same example just देखा था, how do you identify a positive even number? So we had two conditions there. A should be greater than 0 and A should be an even number. So executing this statement, so why do we write this? This statement means if I divide any number by 2, उसका जो remainder है अगर 0 आया, which means it's divisible by 2, right? So this means A is a positive even number. अगर मैंने 13 डाला, it won't print anything. If I move it to 14, it will again print A is a positive even number. Moving on to assignment operators, यहाँ पर A की जो value थी, that is 14, right? So if I try to increment the value of a by 10, what should the answer be? It should be 24. So this is about the assignment operator. Now quickly moving on to type conversion. टाइप कन्वर्जन में क्या होता है, अगर आपको वेरिएबल को एक डेटा टाइप से दूसरे टाइप में कन्वर्ट करना हो, उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं टाइप कन्वर्जन. नाउ टाइप कन्वर्जन कैन बी ऑफ टू टाइप्स. आइदर इट कैन बी ऑटोमेटिक, जब पाइथन ऑटोमेटिकली चेंज करता है टाइप डेटा का, एंड द सेकेंड टाइप इज एक्सप्लिसिट, जहाँ पर आपको खुद मेंशन करना पड़ता है इन ऑर्डर टू टेल पाइथन दैट आई नीड दिस डेटा टाइप टू बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू समथिंग एल्स. सो लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ द इम्प्लिसिट टाइप, जहाँ पर पाइथन ऑटोमेटिकली कन्वर्ट करता है विदाउट एन एनी यूजर इन्वॉल्वमेंट. लुकिंग एट एन एग्जाम्पल, सो मैंने यहाँ पर ए में 144 स्टोर किया. व्हाट डेटा टाइप इज दिस? दिस इज इंटीजर. एंड मैंने बी में स्टोर किया 345.67. व्हाट डेटा टाइप इज दिस? दिस इज अ फ्लोट डेटा टाइप. सो व्हेन वी एड these both, what do you think the answer should be? Should the answer be in integers or should it be in float? So as a thumb rule, Python will always convert the final answer into a data type which gives you more accuracy. So यहाँ पर अगर मैंने इन दोनों को add किया, तो final data type would be float because it is giving more accurate answer. So two things are printed. First of all, the answer, which is 489.67. And the second thing which is being printed is the type, data type of C, which is actually float. So this type of conversion is not mentioned by us. हम लोगों ने कहीं पर भी mention नहीं किया कि मुझे data type change करना है. But this automatically happens inside the Python language. So moving on to the next type of conversion, that is the explicit data type, जहाँ पर हम लोग खुद बोलते हैं पाइथन को that I need this data type to be converted into something else. Looking at the example of explicit conversion now, जैसे A में स्टोर कौन सा डेटा टाइप हो रहा है? INT डेटा टाइप, राइट? एंड B में कौन सा डेटा टाइप है? दिस इज द स्ट्रिंग डेटा टाइप, करेक्ट? Now, what if I want to add these both? Now we know we can only add numbers, right? हम लोग text और number add नहीं कर सकते. So in order to add these, first we convert the string data type into an integer data type by using the int function. So int function looks like this. So यहाँ पर हम लोगों ने int of b कर दिया है. So finally now we can convert this into integers and print the answer 512. Again, if I just want to convert it into float, so what would happen? I need to use the float function. So this is the answer. Now why do we get this? This is a discussion for another time, but this is a bit imprecise. You should only consider these first 5 digits. All right, so this was about explicit conversion. So let's move on to other kind of functions which are generally used inside your Python programs. Let's assume आपके examination में question आया, take an input from the user. What do you do then? आप खुद variable assign नहीं कर सकते. You have to ask the user कि what input do you want to give. So for that particular function, we use input. Let's see how can we use this. So सबसे पहले I am writing this. Please enter your age. I want the user to input the age. So first statement will print enter your age. The second statement, what it does is it creates an input field for the user जहाँ पर आप अपनी age enter कर पाओगे. And the third one is printing the age by saying my age is comma the variable name. Let's try to execute this. If I say my age is 16, so again this statement was printed because of this. ये जो input statement है इसकी वजह से मैं 16 enter कर पा रहा हूँ. And finally when I press enter, It says my age is 16. But there is one fun fact about this input function. हमारी एज हमेशा डिजिट्स में होती है, नंबर्स में होती है, राइट? लेट्स एक्चुअली सी कि यहाँ पर जो डेटा टाइप है इस एज का वो क्या है. द डेटा टाइप इज स्ट्रिंग डेटा टाइप. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट जब भी आप इनपुट फंक्शन यूज करोगे, ऑलवेज योर वेरिएबल विल स्टोर टेक्स्ट डेटा टाइप. अगर आपने नंबर स्टोर किया, डेसिमल स्टोर किया, इट विल बी स्टोर्ड एज a text or a string data type. So in order to convert it into a different data type, what I can do is I can either write this inside int, this can be a possibility, or I can also write this inside int. But it does not matter until and unless आप इसके साथ कुछ calculation कर रहे हो. You don't have to convert it into int because you're only just displaying the number. So let's take another example. So there is one variable of first name. Enter your first name. Second variable is last name. Input, enter your last name. In this variable, I'm trying to add these both. Let's see what happens when you try to add two string data types. Entering my first name Aakash, last name Singh. When I press enter, this statement will be executed and full name will be printed. But there is something missing. The space is missing inside the name, which means जब भी हम लोग addition sign use कर रहे हैं, the space is not being added. आपके जो दो text है, दो strings है, they will be joined directly together without any space in between. So that's why we have to introduce a space between them. So now if I print this, so full name is printed as Aakash space Singh. Okay. So this was about the input function. Talking about data structures inside Python language, there are multiple data structures. हम लोग quickly देखेंगे कौन कौन से होते हैं. First of all, it is list. List, as the name suggests, it is a collection of various data. Taking an example of a list, जैसे मैंने यहाँ पर दो लिस्ट बनाई है. The first list is of country names, जहाँ पर मैंने इंडिया, यूएस, नेदरलैंड स्टोर किया. The second list is of text data type plus integer data type, which means list में आप कोई भी डेटा टाइप स्टोर कर सकते हो. मिक्स्ड डेटा टाइप रख सकते हो, सिर्फ सिंगल डेटा टाइप रख सकते हो. इट इज अप टू यू. सो लेट्स एग्जीक्यूट दिस. इफ आई ट्राई टू प्रिंट list 1, let's see what we get. List is always printed as this. In order to specify a list, हमें हमेशा स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट्स ही यूज करने पड़ेंगे. अगर आपने यहाँ पर स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट्स नहीं यूज किए, लिस्ट विल नॉट बी क्रिएटेड एंड यू विल गेट एन एरर. सो लिस्ट also has something called indexing. So let's see what it is. For example, if I have a list like this, A, B, C. So list indexing means आपका हर एक एलिमेंट एक पोजिशन को डिफाइन करता है. So position of A is 0. The position will always start from 0 and go till n minus 1, where n is the total number of elements. So if I say my list is called L, L at 0, what do you think will be printed? This will print element at location 0 in list L. So we get A. So this is known as forward indexing क्योंकि ये left to right जा रहा है. There is also something called reverse indexing. For the same list, indexing can also look like this: -1, -2, and -3. So this is known as reverse indexing. Looking at an example, in the first print statement, we are printing the first element which is at 0 position from list 1, and in the second print statement we are printing the last element, which is -1 from list 2. So it should look like India and 7. Executing. So we get this answer. You can also print partial lists. For printing partial lists, आपको starting point and n+1 point आपको mention करना पड़ेगा. Let's say if I just want to print a comma b. So for this, what you need to mention is L should be printed from 0 till 2. So this will actually print only the elements which are present at 0, 1 position. So this won't be considered. This will print all elements from 0 till 2 minus 1. Okay, so this is how you remember it. First initial point है वो consider होता है, जो last point है उसका minus कर दो एक 1. Till that your elements will be printed. So some of the other things which you can do with list is slicing of list. जैसे मैं यहाँ पर सिर्फ first 2 element ही print करूँगा, 0 and 1, like India and US. We can also change the values inside a list. So list 2 में मैं रोनाल्डो के बदले क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो लिख रहा हूँ, and I will also change the name of US to the USA. Something like this. So list 2 becomes this and list 1 becomes this. कभी कभी आपको लिस्ट का लेंथ फाइंड आउट करना हो, उसके लिए जो फंक्शन यूज होता है दैट इज len, len फंक्शन. सो फाइंडिंग द लेंथ ऑफ लिस्ट 1, इट इज 3. Again, if I want to find out the length of list 2, it should be this. Okay. So some other things that you can do with list is adding the items to a list. अगर मुझे country की list में एक और country add करनी है, I can use the append function. Append function looks like this. मैंने list 1 में Japan append किया है. So let's see what list 1 looks like now. India, the USA, Netherlands, and at the end Japan has also been added. Again, if I add something else like Sri Lanka, list 1 already looks like this. If I add Sri Lanka to this, your list will increase. यहाँ पर Sri Lanka add हो गया. Similarly, if I want to add England, execute it, and then try to print list 1, another country will be added. So append से आपके सिर्फ last position पे जाके country add हो जाती है. But sometimes you want to change the position. Let's say if I want to add Russia, but at position 1, which means यहाँ पर after India you should print Russia in the list. So I use the insert function, and along with that I also mention the position जहाँ पर मुझे Russia add करना है. So let's just quickly see what happened. String object cannot be interpreted as an integer. Okay, so let's just ignore this part for now. Move on to the next one. Talking about removing items, what we do is, again, अगर आपको last में से element निकालना है, what we do is we try to use the pop function. Again, in list 1, England was the last country, right? अब मैंने pop अगर function use किया, it will remove the last element from the list like this. So England has been removed and we are printing the new list. Again, if I want to delete some items from list by specifying a position, हम लोग delete function, del function use करते हैं. Along with that, we mention the list and the position. So list 2 currently looks like, so let me just remove this. List 2, Cristiano Ronaldo 1, Portugal, and 7. So if I just try to delete position 1, so it should look like 1 delete हो गया है यहाँ से, only 3 elements remain. Okay, so this was about lists. Lists are the most important data structures which you can find currently for your Python syllabus. There is also something known as tuples. Tuples और list में दो differences होते हैं. First difference is tuples use tuples use normal parentheses. हम लोग square brackets नहीं use करते हैं. And the second difference is tuples are permanent. Once tuples are created, you cannot add or remove or change objects. So quickly looking at tuples. Tuple 1 मैंने create किया, India, Russia and USA. Printing the value of tuple 1. Again, if you see, parenthesis use होता है. And if I try to print the first element at position 0, it will be printing India. Next data type is set. Set में कोई भी position नहीं होती है. आप randomly object store करते हो उसके अंदर. One of the major things about set is कि आप उसमें duplicate values कभी store नहीं कर पाओगे. That's why it is called a set. Something like this. If I try to store a duplicate value inside, let's see what happens. Again, it will only print the duplicate value once. So यहाँ पर अगर मैंने blue एक और बार डाल दिया, it does not matter how many times I repeat the values, it will only print the set of unique values. And set is represented by curly brackets. I hope you were able to understand this. We move on to the last data type, and after that we'll look at other things and solving a couple of more questions. So dictionary, as the name suggests, acts as a dictionary but inside Python. अगर मुझे किसी भी word का meaning ढूंढना है, I try to find out the word in the dictionary and look at the immediate meaning. So dictionary का form होता है key plus value. अगर आप कोई भी की फाइंड आउट करोगे उसके साथ आपको एक वैल्यू मिलेगी. जस्ट लाइक सेइंग, अगर आप डिक्शनरी में वर्ड फाइंड आउट करोगे आपको उसका एक मीनिंग मिलेगा. सो फॉर ऑल दीज डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स आई हैव क्रिएटेड सेपरेट वीडियोज ऑन माई चैनल. आई विल बी पिनिंग दोज इन द कमेंट्स. यू कैन रेफर टू दोज इफ यू वांट टू नो मोर अबाउट दीज डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स. ऑल राइट, सो क्विकली लुकिंग एट हाउ डिक्शनरी इज डिफाइंड. डिक्शनरी डिफाइन करने के लिए हमें curly brackets लिखने होते हैं. And as I said, it only occurs in key value pairs. So key value pairs मतलब this is the key and this is the value. So generally dictionaries को हम लोग ऐसे लिखते हैं. This is the format which we use so that it's better to read, right? So dict1 मैंने create किया. I'm trying to print it. This is the dictionary. But how do we use dictionaries? If I say dict1 at color B, I want to find out the value of this key inside the dictionary. I'm trying to find out the meaning of color B. जो यहाँ पर है, it should give you blue. So let's try to execute this, and again it gives us blue. So these were the data types which are very useful in the Python language or any other language for that matter. So now once we have defined what variables are, we have seen some data types, what are beneficial data types, we move on to control structures. So have you seen a river? River only flows in one direction. It's like saying going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. This is a straight flow. But inside Python language or any programming language, sometimes you need to repeat statements or sometimes you need to make decisions. So for that we try to alter the flow. We try to change the control of the flow inside the Python program. उसके लिए हम लोग if or else statement use करते हैं. Let's see how that looks. So let's assume I have a question with me which says, given the temperature, find out if it's over freezing point or below. So we just need to find out if at this temperature the water would freeze or not. So first of all, we start our Python program. We try to input the temperature. Let's say the temperature is 22 degrees. I'm taking in Celsius, right? So now I try to check the condition. यहाँ पर मैंने condition क्या रखी है? T is greater than 0. So if T is greater than 0, it means it is not above, it is above freezing point. So which means we can say it's above freezing point. But again, if this condition is false, what can I print? The temperature is less than 0 and the water will freeze. Right? So this is the benefit of control structures. जब हम लोग if statement लिखते हैं, we write it as if, we write the condition and then we say कि condition अगर true है तो क्या होना चाहिए. If we improve or increase the else statement, we can say अगर एक condition true है, let's say t is greater than 0, I will print something. But else means if this condition is false, what should be done? So again, I have created a separate video for if and else statements. If you want to refer to it, I'll be pinning it in the comment section. Some other type of control structure is if-elif statement. Now, if you remember, if-else में you had only two options. Two options में भी क्या? Either it can be true or it can be false. But sometimes I want to increase the number of options that I have. It's like saying I want to identify if a number is positive, negative or 0. So at that point of time, your code should look like if, elif and else. So if your number is greater than 0, you can say it's positive. If your number is less than 0, you can say it's negative. And at last, if none of these condition is satisfied, we can automatically understand that n is equal to 0. Then we can say n is 0. So this is the use of control structures. Another important part is loops. Sometimes we need to repeat the statements a lot of times. For example, if I want to print yes 100 times, there are two ways I can do it. I can write print yes, then I can again write print yes, and I can keep on writing this, and it is a very non-programming way, non-coding approach. But using loops, I can write a single statement and get the output 100 times. So inside a for loop, हम लोग condition specify करते हैं. Again, I have created a separate video for loops. I'll be pinning it in the comment section. There are two types of loops. One is for loop and the other is while loop. Also, there are 10 most important questions that you need to prepare for. I'll be uploading that just after this video. You can refer to it. All right, so let's move on to question and answers. So in this part, we try to find out if there are errors inside your Python program. So let's try to see. Num1 is 1.2. Okay, so this is float. Num2 is integer, right? And sum will be storing integer of num1, which means integer of num1 is 1 plus float of num2. So ये सिर्फ integer है, इसको float में convert करने के लिए 6.0 लिखना पड़ेगा. So this is our statement which is going to be stored in sum. So what have we studied about type conversion? Python will automatically convert this into 7.0 because one of the values is float and this one is integer. It will always convert the final answer into a data type which has more accuracy. In this case, it is float. So there is no error in this program. Quite tricky, right? Anyways, program to find the average of three numbers. We are storing A as 2, B as 3, C as 4. So there seems to be some sort of error in this statement. So let's try to rewrite this. मुझे तीन numbers का average find out करना है. ठीक है, so I will be storing it in variable s. So s should equal to a plus b plus c by 3, right? So if I give this, my answer will come out in float. So this was the error in this statement. Moving on to the next question, program to swap two variables. Now I have two variables, integer x, integer y, temporary variable. So in Python language, we never define the data type initially. So removing these two, this was the error over here. So let's see what happens in the program. Temp की value बन जाएगी 5, x की value बन जाएगी 10, and y में मैं फिर से क्या स्टोर कर दूंगा, temp की value, which means 5. Now my x is 10 and my y is 5. So this was the error inside this program. Moving on to next program to check if a number is even or odd. Alright, so we have studied about input function. Input function से हम यूज़र से कोई भी चीज़ एंटर कर सकते हैं. So inside the input function, अगर मुझे कुछ प्रिंट करना हो, I can also write that, but inside inverted commas. Right, so this was the first error कि मुझे कुछ भी जो प्रिंट करना है मुझे inverted commas में डालना पड़ेगा. After that, the next thing, if you remember, जब भी हम लोगों ने input function use किया, it will always store in string data type. So what should be done? So this statement should be rewritten as x is equal to integer of input so this should be the correct statement. And finally, if x remainder x divided by 2 and remainder is 0, we can print even, else we print odd. So this was the error inside this program. Okay, so program to check if the number entered is negative, 0 or positive. So number हम लोग store कर रहे हैं. Again, right now we are changing the data type to float. Enter a number. If number is greater than 0, we say print positive number. Next is else number equal to 0. Now this is the error. Else should always come at last, and elif should be in this position. So you just have to interchange the value, the keywords else and elif. So this was the error in this program. Next question is to find the largest among the given three numbers, 15, 14 and 18. There are three numbers हमको दिए गए हैं and we need to find out the maximum of these. So if n is greater than n2, if n is greater than n2 and n is also greater than n3, so यहाँ पर और नहीं आना चाहिए, it should be and. Same goes for this, यहाँ पर भी आपको and आना चाहिए. ठीक है, अगर n1 is greater than both n2 and n3, then n1 is the largest number. If n2 is greater than n1 and n3, then n2 is the largest number, else n3 is the largest. So this was about finding the errors in your programs. In this part, we try to find out the output of these Python programs. So what is the output of the following lines of code? So A is true, B is false, C is false. So now what is the condition here? Condition is A or B and C. So it should look like true or false and false. So over here, let's try to keep brackets. True or false, it gives us true. And finally, and false will always give us false. So this condition is not true. This is false. So we move on to this statement, else, and print intelligence. Next question, what is the output of the following lines of code? If you already know about for loop, then it's good. If not, you can refer to my other videos to understand it. So with the range function, we create a sequence like this, 4, 5. So for I in range 4, 5, we print the value of I each time. So first of all, the value of I becomes 4. We print 4. Then value of I becomes 5. We print 5. So the answer should be B, 4 and 5. Alright, so moving to the next question. What is the output of the following lines of code? So this is str data type and this is int data type. What happens if we try to add these both? It's not possible to add text and numbers, so we get an error. We need to find out what kind of error are we getting. Is it a syntax error? It's not a syntax error because the syntax looks good, the rules of programming language look good, but यहाँ पर error है type का. Two types of different nature cannot be added if one of them is text. So D answer is correct. What is the output of the following lines of code? Now we have list 1 as 1, 3, 4. Okay, let's write it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have this function dot append. Try to remember what happens with append. Append say we add a new element or a new data to the end of the list. So if I try to append this entire list, what should the new list look like? It should look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a single element. It is not adding the list elements. It is just one single element. So if I try to find out the length of final list would be 5. I hope you understood this. Append से हम लोग सिर्फ last position पे पूरा element add कर देते हैं. If I want to join these two lists, what I can do? I can write list 01 plus 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if I try to print list 1, I will get something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so moving on to the next one. What is the output of the following lines of code? So this is Audi, Mercedes, 1997 and 2000. I want to print the element in list 1 which is at position -2. यहाँ पर हम लोग reverse indexing use कर रहे हैं. It should start with -1, -2, -3, -4. So element at position -2 is 1997. So this is the right answer now. What is the output of the following lines of code? Years 1, 1918, 1914, 1923. Years 2, 2012, 2008, 2020. Alright, we have just discussed this in the previous question. Years 1 plus years 2, it will add all the elements together into a single list. Hence, B is the correct answer. What is the output of following lines of code? We have a list which is given and we are multiplying the entire list with 2. So now common sense would say all the elements should be multiplied by 2. No, that's not the case. If you remember, this can also be written as num plus num, right? So this essentially means you are adding the elements again into the same list, which means B is the correct answer. Alright, so with this, we have completed the theory of advanced Python in a quick recap. Now, if at any point, अगर आपको किसी भी theory में doubt आ रहा है, you can refer to my other videos which are present on this channel. Generally, that will be for class 11, but I have made sure that students of class 10 can also understand it. Shortly, I will also be uploading top 10 questions which can be asked in your Python practicals. So please wait for that. If you like this video, please do not forget to show it. You can comment any of your doubts under this video. If you have any friends who would like to be part of this, please share this video among them, and please do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Till then, stay awesome. Bye bye.